So, carrying on my marathon of videos today. I'm not wearing this same jumper in every video for a week. It is the same, sort of like however long this takes. But there was a massive thing that I realised when I was going through cancer. And it all started in the waiting room. And my thoughts come up from this time and time again. I see people going through stuff and I'm like, it's just the waiting room. It's just like my waiting room. And it was where my massive penny dropped of how the world outside of us reflects the world inside of us. So I was sat when I was very first, actually it was that nasty bit that maybe you're going through at the moment, is when you've been told it's something. You've had your biopsies, but they can't tell you what it is. And that was so awful. And you just think the worst straight away. And everything's in turmoil, everything's awful, and nothing's known. It's just you and your imagination and probably Google. And that's just not a good place to be at that point. And I was sat in the waiting room at the hospital with my husband. And I was looking around and I just thought that waiting room was an awful place to be. It was full of people who looked worried. They looked like they were scared. They looked like they were worried for the people who were sat with them, the family who'd come with them. It felt like they were putting on a brave face for the people who'd gone with them to keep their spirits up. They were holding it together for the people around them so that the people with them wouldn't get panicked as well. It was so tense. It was horrible. It was just an awful waiting room to be sat in. I couldn't stand it. I just felt like you could cut the atmosphere with a knife. Literally. It just felt tense. And I got called in and I told it was cancer, and everything erupted from there on. But you go away, you do the treatment, you come back. I think I went there every other month or so, maybe every 6 weeks. I think I had an appointment with the oncologist in that, so I'd go back to that waiting room. And the next time I went back, it was a completely different place. I thought, oh my God, I can't go back to that waiting room. It was so awful. And then I went back and it was fine. I knew my plan. I'd started chemo. I knew that it was caught early. I knew what I was facing. I knew that I could have surgery. I knew that they knew what they were doing. I'd met everybody by then. And my feelings were very different. And I went back to the waiting room and it wasn't that tense, awful, crazy place anymore. It was a very calm, very quiet. Everybody was peacefully waiting for the next appointment to be called. There were a few worried faces, but I was still worried myself as well. You always are. Still am. And it was just a completely different feel of the whole place. And I went away because you get a lot of time to think, of course, especially on chemo and stuff, when you're sat in a chair forever with the stuff. And I was sat thinking, what changed there? It was completely the same place, but it felt like a completely different planet. And I worked out weeks later that it was me. My internal thoughts were completely different that second time round. And it was a completely different lens that I was looking at the world through. And I perceived that whole place. It would have been exactly the same place both times. There would have been no difference between the people, how the people were waiting in the first time and waiting in the second time. There couldn't have been. The only thing different was me and how I was looking at things, how I was perceiving things, and how I was feeling and thinking about my prognosis, my plan. Everything was more positive the second time round. And if I can just help you see that the way you look at things completely changes how you perceive the things. Your perspective is your biggest asset. And I've seen it time and time again, things my husband's going through, things my friends are going through. I just think this is your waiting room. It's how you're seeing the world that is creating your reality. Because if you drill down right now to your absolute present, what's going on? What's happening in your absolute present moment right now? You're probably sat in a room, maybe with someone else who's doing something else, and you're watching this video, and everything's quiet, and the rain has just stopped, and the sun's come out. And that's what's really going on. It's so quiet. And before that, everything was racing and chasing and going on in your head. It's what mindfulness is about. It's the projections. As humans, we've got this gift of being able to project stuff. Like if, back when we were cavemen, I presume, if we chase these animals down there, they'll go down there, and then we can do this, and then we'll catch the animals and we can have our dinner. We can project that. Or if we can do that, and then I can jump in front of that wildebeest and then stop it, and then you can project that the wildebeest will actually run you over, you die, bad idea, scrub that one, let's project another outcome, and from there that will either work or not. Those are the projections that we can run. That's how we can became so such great hunters, such a dominant species, because we can project and work things out in the future just from being sat here safely on this chair. The trouble is, we can get caught up in those projections, and we can feel those projections, and we can work out that if I go down that road, and what if I go out there and I see my arch nemesis and they're there and I have to walk past them and it would be really awful, and what if they say this to me, and what if I don't know what to say, and what if I fell over in a puddle or something, or it can just, and I can feel that right now. If I walk out and see someone I don't want to see, I can feel that right now. But actually, what's happening? I'm just sat here in the new sunlight that's coming out, and I've got a cup of nice ginseng green tea here, and actually none of that's true. But I felt it. I felt that knot in my tummy the moment I was thinking about that then. And being able to step out of those projections, snap out of that, is the most freeing thing you can do. It's just your waiting room. How are you feeling in your waiting room creates those projections that you're seeing, and those create your reality around you. They somehow create a vibration of how people react to you, how if they do something, they trigger you. It's amazing. I see it time and time again, and it's something I'm so aware of, and I can step out of it now and see things for how I hope they really are. Maybe it's not, I don't know, but I quite like this projection. So I hope that came across right, because in my head that's been huge for me. And I wanted to share that with you guys. It's been a long video, I hope you stuck with me, but loads more of stuff to come your way, and I shall see you in the next one. Take care.